Welcome to Who Am I? A little program I've put together, which really is actually, it's both a micro and a macro, because it's really all about me, because I'm the one doing it. Project Who Am I is just me coming into my studio for like a couple of hours early every morning. Like, it's not even 5 o'clock in the morning yet. It's not even 4:30 yet. And I pull myself together, and then I gaze out at the problems and blessings of the world. And on the one hand, I am trying to explain it outwards to give my fellow human beings a view. I'm also doing it, of course, to try to pull myself together, because that, I think, Greg Braden mentions this, but it's just sort of, I think it's a big thing. Our urge, our impetus, our, our mandate to integrate, to pull ourselves into a whole being. And in this space, I get to come in here and just be everything I have ever thought, everything I have ever felt, everything I have ever loved, all the things I think I know. And in this space, I get to pull it all together into the same place and get it to line up with each other. And so that I don't have stuff that, when I pull it all into the same place, I can see what I've got that is what's the word for, like, clashing with itself, contradicting itself. I want this, but I want that, and the two things don't go together. When I put them in the same place, I go, wait a minute, I think I can get down to the root of what I actually want in this situation from both sides that do not contradict. Well, we're contradicting ourselves is what the problem is. And that seems benign. It seems banal. And I guess in a way it is, but it's incredibly profound and incredibly destructive. Very destructive. The way that human beings contradict their own energy stream. It's the root cause of all evil. It's the root cause of all problems. It's the root cause of all suffering, and actually it ends up being the root cause of every problem you think you have, including, the dishwasher that just broke down. The whole thing is systems built upon themselves. And when those systems are built on contradictory energies, it's like they're built on sand, on quicksand even. You're not on stable ground. And I, for one, have decided that I do not like not being on solid ground. I very much in this world want to be standing on some kind of a sure foundation. The ever-changing nature of the physical world makes it impossible to fix on a point in the physical world and align to it and guide by it sustainably, because everything changes. And so you have to start counting on the laws of the universe, counting on the true nature of who you are, counting on the true nature of the allness. By the way, the true nature of the allness is good. It is good, it is goodness, it is okay, it is all right, it is fine, it is okay. It's not a fearful, murderous darkness. It isn't. The true general nature of the wholeness is good. And if you fix on that, what will flow from that will be good. Now, it is true that if you go the other way, if you assume the other way, you can achieve great wickedness and destruction and terror and horror and all that. But I think it's just transitory, and you just created it by the way you focused, and so it isn't really foundational. The universe is good. You know, I have thesis statements in my little program, Who Am I? I do. I have thesis statements. My thesis statements or thesis postulations. I don't know. This idea that, so the question is, who am I? Who am I in reference to source energy? Who am I and what is source energy? And how, because everything is source energy, then ultimately the who am I equals who am I as source energy. And how does all that work? And how is it going to get us to peace on earth and off fossil fuels and onto a source of energy that is sustainable? We all need to focus on finding our sustainable source energy. And the reason we need to, so everybody's kind of like, they're not looking at it. They're like, yeah, we need that. And if we don't get that, then we're not going to be sustainable into the future. But that's somebody else's job. I'm going to start you know what? We all need to start thinking about it. And even like me, so I'm not an engineer. And so my thinking about it and my helping to bring it about is not because I'm going to be actually in the laboratory making an over unity device. But there's plenty of people out there capable of doing that who are doing other things. They're making other kind of devices using the freaking fossil fuel crap that we've got going on right now. Do you know that the way we have set up our society is, on the one hand, every one of us is incredibly I'm having a hard time with my words this morning. Stuck on, addicted to, we can't do without it. We cannot grow our own food, make our own clothes, build our own housing, build our own technological devices, refine our own fuel supply. We can't do any of that. And so each and every one of us is obligated to the wholeness of who we are. The human superorganism. Spell it with a capital H. Call it humanity. There's all kinds of philosophers calling this concept different names. I sort of like humanity with a capital H. It's us in our allness. It's us as a superorganism. We are a superorganism, and we're all very dependent upon this, and it's all very much a house of cards. But it doesn't need to be. It could be extremely, powerfully strong on this planet. It could be... from all the farthest reaches of all the corners of the planet, which is kind of what's happening now, so the ability to imagine this is pretty easy, could be a constant stream of a variety of goods of all types, everything from technology to foodstuffs to different fabricated items, anyway, it's just like it is right now. It would be just like that. But there would be more individual centers of wholeness. See, we don't want there to be small wholenesses within our large nation. We don't really like that. Not ones that are separate from the whole that is the nation. But there's going to be a time when when we don't have empire. Our empire is going to be fine, but it's going to shatter into a jillion bits. And that's going to be fine. All of those jillion bits are going to harmonize beautifully with one another in this scenario that I'm describing. because every one of them is going to be independently plugged into their own source, both metaphysically and physically and literally and all of that. We need to understand who we are. We need to understand how the laws of the universe work, and from a position of absolute, in a way, absolute detachment, just in a matter-of-fact kind of way, with no emotions, no drama, no fear, no euphoria, just flat understanding of who we are and how it works. And then take that general understanding and go use it to ignite your glorious flame of individuality, of passion, of all the emotions you want to throw in there. Go do that. But understand in a passionless, just matter-of-fact way, first of all, who we are and how this works, and how who we are and how this works fits into what your religion believes, what you have always believed, what everyone around you believes. It all fits. It is not, the allness fits, and if you can't fit an understanding of your neighbor's behavior into your paradigm that you've got in your consciousness, then you need to make your consciousness bigger. It really is a question of this. This is what's going on. So have you ever heard the old, it's an old story, it's an analogy or I don't know what you call this particular kind of teaching. It's a picture that shows you something. So the story is, the picture is the old men, not the old men, I always say old men, it's not old. It's the blind men and the elephant. And all of them, they're discussing about what each one of them thinks the elephant is something different. They're all standing at a different position on this enormous creature. And they're not allowed to walk all the way around. They're not doing it anyway, walking all around and, feeling all the different parts. Each one of them is kind of standing near a different part of the elephant and proclaiming that the elephant is, the elephant's like a snake. No, it's more like a rope. No, it's like a tree trunk. No, it's like a sail. No, it's like a wall. And you can imagine all the parts of the elephant that, would be like that. And the thing is if they're standing there arguing about it, then they're wrong. You see that? If they're standing there arguing about it, then they're wrong, because they're engaging in subtraction consciousness. It has to be this or this. It's not or. It's not or anywhere, people. It's and. And you've got to deal with it. Your little constricted view of reality, it is this and it's not that, it's limiting and it's false. It's not. Every single one of us is shining a light on a particular point on the elephant and then trying to describe it. And so when you realize that your neighbor is your unknown self made visible, his consciousness is all of the rest of the view. And I got this squeak in my chair. I should do something with it, because it's on every, it must be on every recording, because I move around a lot. And now I have drawn your attention to it. Sorry about that. Anyway, that's the answer here. The thing is that every religion is standing at a different place on the same elephant, trying to describe it. And then declaring that the other blind people standing at the, at different points on the elephant are wrong. What you see is not so. That's not it. Even all the people that are griping about things, they're not wrong. They're just wrong in their approach to how to fix what they think they don't like or what they don't want. They're not fixing it properly. They're actually creating more of it. Do you see how come we need to understand what we're doing, and why it behooves me to help my fellow human beings understand this too? Because we are messing up each other. We're stepping in each other's energy fields. We are a field phenomenon. We need to understand this as a greater whole. And so my little thesis is that I believe that all of the woes of humanity are being caused by us not knowing who we are and how this works. The Buddhists, I guess, have had some sort of idea that this is so for a long time. They have a thing they call the kleshas. And I have it somewhere in my... I have this little list of... they're like slides. I have my slides. Not too many. They're all familiar. The way I speak is different every day. I don't just get into this space and just say the exact same words in the exact same way every day. I absolutely don't. But every day I come in and we're talking about this thing. Who am I? Who am I? I find myself, birthed into this human land. And I am small. And yet I am huge. And that's really what we're coming to grips with, because the true nature of reality has to do with this scaling thing. What the universes are doing in a scaling way. How they're all lined up, it's kind of Horton Hears a Who and Russian doll nested stuff. It's vast scales that go from the subplonk to the Planck, which, by the way, that leap is the same leap as from the Planck to the universe. And that leap, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you all the scales within the, from the Planck to the universe. The subplonk to the Planck is the same scale as from the Planck to the universe. And that's huge, because a Planck is really, really small. To get from the Planck to the proton is a long way to go. There's a Planck field within every proton, and that Planck field, it's like every Planck in that field is representing or reflecting a proton in every proton in the universe. So it's like the Planck field in every proton is reflecting all the Plancks in all the universe. I have a slide that which one is it? Is it this one? No, that's oscillator mechanics. It's this one. This is the one that mathematically and in physics and in reality, there's a reflection thing going on where certain things are reflecting other things, and the information of the whole and the tiny to the whole. So I'm talking about scales, and I was just trying to take you from the Planck to the proton. This is how many Plancks there are in a proton. If you took every one of those Plancks and made them the size of a grain of sand, the diameter of that same proton, which in its natural state is so small you still can't see it. You can't even really see it with a microscope. There's ways that they can do electronic things that make it in, there's things that they can do so that they know that it's a proton and what it is and how to measure it. And I don't even have any idea what physicists really do with this stuff. But a proton is really, 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 really small already. But there are so many Plancks in that single proton that if you made every one of the Plancks the size of a grain of sand, which is actually monstrously huge compared to a Planck, the proton within them that they are in, the diameter of it would be from our sun to Alpha Centauri. Make it a sphere, fill it with sand. So that's how far you have to go to get from the Planck to the proton. And then the proton is still rather small even to the atom, because it's just the center of the atom, and the atom is actually a bit bigger than that, with the electron swirling around, or whatever. It's actually our view of what the atom even is has changed quite a bit. It isn't balls in the center surrounded by energy. It's more of a... Anyway. So the scales within our universe are Planck, proton, biology, planet, solar system, or sun, solar system. Because the size of the sun and the size of the solar system, that's different, ain't it? Galaxy, cluster, supercluster, universe, multiverse, foaming multiverse. I guess those are your scales. The allness of all things would be the multi of the multiverse on the way outside, and at the center, then you've got the Planck, at least in this universe, and then if you go down to the next universe down below us in a denser place, in a denser dimension, it would be the sub-Planck. There has to be one down there, because somebody flung something off that big banged our universe. If I'm talking gobbledygook because you haven't ever listened to any of the playlist of watching assignments that I post with every show, here we got the lost century and how to reclaim it. That's the video that... It's not just a video, it's a movie. I bought mine on YouTube, on Amazon. Didn't realize that you could find it for free on YouTube, but there it is, free on YouTube. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. This is what has been happening to us, people. We have been lied to for a long time. But one of the reasons we have been lied to is our consciousness needs to rise. We need to understand who we are, and we need to understand what source energy, and we need to be trusted with it. We need to be able to be trusted with it, because we're all going to excitedly scurry off into the bushes with our own energy source and do whatever the hell we want to survive, and we're not going to have to suck and prey upon one another and the last shreds of the biosphere in order to capitalize in the human energy system's large distribution streams. We're not going to have to do that. We're going to be able to go into the woods and grow our own food and build our little pockets of abundance that will supply our families and our villages and our little organizations, or whatever it is that, our little cults. We're going to all go off into the bushes and have our own cults. And you know what? That's fine. We need to let each other do that. And we need to come back together. Actually, if we would all go off into the bushes and do that with some basic understandings about who we are and how the energies work and what creates the demons and what creates the Shiva energy and what creates the happily ever after, what creates the joyful, abundant paradigm where we all come back together and as source, we all play nice together. What creates one? What creates the other? What is doing it within us? Who are we? And how does our biotechnology work? Let me keep going. Origin of mass, nature of gravity. That's the YouTube video, which is an explanation of their paper, which you can see farther down on the list. That was a paper that was written by Nassim and a couple of other guys, Cyprian. Oh, if I show you the paper, you'll see their names. I don't really know what their names are, and I can't pronounce them anyway. The one guy's name is Cyprian. I don't know if that's the way you pronounce it. Might be Cyprian, for all I know. Or, and then the other guy's Olivier, so I don't think it's Oliver. In any case, they wrote this paper back in last September. And it is literally, it explains mathematically and in the language of physics, it explains how matter is coming into being, how it gets across the event horizon of the 0 point energy field. What is 0 point energy? What source is? How matter comes into being, what it is. It's these Planck oscillators flipping into spin and cohering with one another in their spin, becoming coherent. So you get a whole proton field of Planck spinning together, a little vortex of spin, creating this black hole proton that is what is the center of all mass. It's what mass is, the center of the proton. And the nature of gravity, by the way. I'll do one more before I leave here, because I'm not really ready to do this exactly. Oh, where am I? This is the full abstract, just in case you were interested. And then I'll go back to my links list of what I have put in my... Somebody really needs to help me with this, because what I need to do is I need to put this list somewhere else so that people can go find it and they're connected to this list of information that I really want to share. And then in this place where it is the description of my video, I can put a description of my video so that people can find my video, because nobody can find me. You could look and look and look and look all day. I don't think I've put anything anywhere that either searching my name, I don't think you could find it from my name, but I don't know about that. That's the one thing. I can't search for myself because I always find myself when I go to my devices. I'm already loaded up. I don't know what it looks like to try to find me from a computer that doesn't know me, or a device that doesn't know me. So anyway, moving on, Quantum Revolution, that's the first episode of Nassim Haramein's 12-episode series about this new way of looking at the universe, the new physics, which is being born because mathematics has unified quantum and cosmological physics, and we're just going to have to go that way because the mathematics is leading the way, and the technologies can follow. And this involves, an understanding of gravity. So what's going to happen, people? This is, if you want to know what the future looks like, if we have one, this is what it looks like. And if we don't understand this, if we don't come to an understanding of this, then at some point we don't have a future. So this is what the future looks like. The future looks like we have energy, and we don't have to, as a wholeness, only find the grand answer. What is the big thing that we can put up on the grid and sell? What is that energy source? Well, cold fusion could do it, because that would be, we would centrally be creating it one place, and then we'd have to distribute it everywhere else, and we'd have to have an infrastructure, and through that infrastructure we sell it to the people who want the energy, So that could do it. What else could do it? Is there anything else that could do it? Well, solar can do it to some extent, because you have to buy. You know what? This is all wrong. This is all wrong. Go watch the first one on my list, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, because what we need to be doing instead is using over-unity devices incrementally to move us off of fossil fuel, getting us to what the real big kahuna is, which is plugged directly into source energy, which means no infrastructure. All you have to have is these little devices, solid-state devices. It tunes you directly into source energy, to this pulsing, almighty. There is a frequency that we are all on. I know it. It's the point we all share. It's our common origin. It's the original. It's not original sin, people. It's original spin. And by the way, that original spin is not sin at all. It is our source. It is what we are all pulsing out of, what we're all coming out of. And so these solid state devices, solid state meaning there's no moving parts. So these devices are not going to break. But it allows you to take your technological device, whatever it is that we've already created. We've already got the technologies that plug into things, the lamps and stuff. But instead of that lamp having a cord that plugs you into the wall, it has a little thing in it that instead tunes you in to the frequency of that device in the house that is tagging you into source energy, and through that connection your light bulb lights up, your air conditioner switches on, your computer powers up, your plow in the garden powers up, and on and on and on, and everybody now has all the power they need to do anything that they want to do, anything that they feel that their heart tells them to do to survive. We've got to plug ourselves into source energy and then plug ourselves into source energy, people. And the reason that we haven't done this before is because our own government has been snatching these incremental over unity devices away from us in the name of national security, because they don't think we can be trusted with all the power and all of the energy. They think that what's going to happen is that we're all going to scatter into the bushes and create these cults, and we are. And that's going to be fine. Now the problem, and where the government really doesn't like this, is what also may happen is you may have places that you don't want a whole bunch of miniature Kim Jong-uns cropping up. You don't want cult masters of great resonance, and those who really understand source energy understand that there is a dark side to this. When we don't know who we are true evil walks the land. We unleash demons right and left. We don't know it, and then now they're all around us, and they're I just got a creepy vision of that. No, we need to know who we are. There's no question about it. We can't send everybody off into the bushes without a little bit of knowledge. The laws of the universe, people, a basic understanding of who we are, and how when we are clear with our source, we are one way. When we cross our energy stream, misunderstanding who we are, we, in a very banal and yet extremely dangerous and destructive way, we create a negative energy field within the field we all share. And then now we mutually have to deal with that. That includes, the people who are out there raping and pillaging and stealing and leering and not caring. They're murdering, and they're all of the things that you think are wicked, and all the things that all of us can agree. That's not coherence. That's not peace on earth. That's not what we want. That's not it. How did we get that? Well, I'll tell you how we got it. We didn't know who we were, and we crossed our own energy stream. And what the F does that mean? I'm going to get into that first thing as soon as I get to the end of this list. Then we have, so the Quantum Revolution is a 12-part series over on Gaia. The first episode, which is the one I've got the link to, is called The Science of a Unified Universe. And it gives you the news that back in 2012, it really was published, the mathematics that unified the quantum and cosmological universes. It's kind of off how the mathematics added it up. It gives you some pause. You have to kind of stop and scratch your head a little bit and think about what that means about what you're physically looking at. Who are you then, and what does life really mean? What is happening? So first of all, it is all spin. It is spin. Spin is the motion of all of the motion of the universe originates from spin. And everything around you is spinning. It's spinning at slightly different rates and starting points from different directions. That's how come things aren't moving exactly together, but we're all spinning together on a planet, which is spinning around a sun, which is spinning around a galaxy, a solar system, around a galaxy, around a cluster, around a supercluster, around the universe, around the multiverse. Everything is spinning. Spin, spin, spin. Spin is the root of all motion. Spin is the root of all motion. Anyway, now we got the Connected Universe. That was the movie made in 2016. Some people saw it, most people didn't. It's narrated by Patrick Stewart. Pretty big production. Somebody made this big movie. It's not just somebody like me in their little dumb studio. It was a big production. The Connected Universe. It's talking about that, made in 2016. This next one, Living in the Future's Past, I throw this one in, and this one's Jeff Bridges narrates this one. It's because it talks about us as a superorganism, who we are as our wholeness. We really are not just our individual selves. And increasingly, each individual self is tagged into the greater whole. I can't produce my own electricity or refine my own gasoline to run my own car that I made. You know, I can't do any of that. I am one of the group, and we all are. Increasingly, even the ones in the outer reaches that used to be wholly self-sufficient. Now, there's probably still a few left. The Kang in the Kalahari Desert are probably still completely capable of, and in a really rough place. The Shipibo might still be in South America. Some Aborigine might still be, but a lot of them are, just like our own Native Americans. They've turned Christian, and they're, they don't know how to so let's see, what's the next one? I like Paul Levy, and I often mention his ideas. His pet idea is one he calls Wetiko, and in my discussions, I'll bring up Wetiko, and then you'll decide for yourself whether you want to go look at Paul Levy's articles. But he's wonderful, and he's got other stuff. If you make it to his articles, you can find it to everything. His links to his books and his videos and all that. So then we've got the paper, and then a little ditty at the end, Whirling Dervishes. That just, when I saw that one, it was like, oh yeah, it is spin, isn't it? That's why these people spin. Isn't it interesting? So I don't know where I was, and I'm not sure where I should land my slide. I don't like this one anymore because it's just so boring. So I'm going to stop here for... Oh, I don't like that one either. We'll stay here for just a second until I am inspired to change the slide to something else. So this is my whole position. We as humanity need to get off fossil fuels. We just really do. And we as humanity don't realize that we can. We have been lied to. We have been lied to by our government, by our Chamber of Commerce, by our... it doesn't matter. See, my position and this whole thing that I do... I am not interested in bringing the culprits to justice. That is not my, and I'm not even saying leave that to others. I'm saying let's leave that alone. Let's just focus on how this works and make it work. Quit focusing on who's wielding the demonic or the Shiva energy. Let's just figure out how we as a group are creating it, and let's quit creating it so that then we can play nice with one another. I think if everybody understood the paradigm they're actually in, we would rather play nice than not play nice. And people will say, well, there's like people who will never play nice. Well, we are living in an artificial paradigm right now, a construct that has been given to us. It's been developing. The momentum of it has been growing over time. It started with, incrementally we should have been getting off of fossil fuels for the last more than a century, just through the use of this device or that device that would have given. But the thing is that it would have all implied something bigger pretty quickly. and we were still in a mindset where can we be trusted? We just committed World War I and World War II, for crying out loud. We just committed the Holocaust. Could we be trusted with this kind of information? And perhaps somebody said no. But we are all one thing, and we are. I think that it would be nice to think that it's white ops that owns all of the knowledge of, but it's probably black ops. And see, even that I don't need to worry about. I don't need to worry about how deep does the conspiracy go? How dark is it really? Whose names are behind we've got to bring them to justice and then, nail their hides to the wall and their heads on posts outside the cities so that everybody else will know that what happens when you perpetrate such wickedness. No. The more that you do that sort of thing, the more you just create the kind of... That's not what we're looking for in our society. That is not what we're looking for. What we want to do is we want to know who we are. We want to understand ourselves. We want to stop creating the demonic energy. We want to chain the demon back under the land of Xanth so that he can create the magic in the world instead of the darkness and the wars and the evil, I don't know if you've read, does anybody read anymore? And how old are you if you're listening? If you're young, you probably haven't read this, and if you're older, maybe you have, because older people have read more, perhaps. I don't know. I was a voracious reader, and I used to read quite a bit to my young children. I read to them when they were little. And they loved it, but neither one of them grew up to be readers. I don't know how you live without being a reader, because what it did for me is it opened up vista after vista after vista after vista after vista, all in my imagination, but that is in my consciousness, which is the seat of where I observe the whole world. And indeed where the whole world abides within me. And so I organize it so everything is inside of me. And so I start here inside of my own consciousness and I line it up so that it's me outward. And I'm lined up with the outside world, my consciousness on the inside, the world on the outside. And now I take pings, I take direction from my inner being. Go this way, go this way, go this way. Don't go that way because it doesn't feel good. This one feels good, go that way. Emotionally good. I'm talking about emotional feelings. Which brings me to... Oh, I know where I was. I was at the 5 kleshes and I was headed for the 5 kleshes. Never made it there, never explained them. This is what the Buddhists think is the root cause of all suffering. Not knowing what's real. And I'm going to have to agree with them. I'm not going to go and do everything else that they do, ritualistically and whatever, but I'm going to give it to them here. They know what they're talking about. Now, this number 4, identifying with an imaginary self, I'm going to take umbrage with that because I don't think either one of these are imaginary. I'm going to, this will be the perfect place to show this famous slide. It even made it as the front thumbnail on at least one of my videos, maybe 2. It's just camera apertures. One is wide open, the other one's closed. But the one that's closed also kind of gives you an impression of spinning. You can almost see the vortex of spinning attraction that one is. The other one is too. As a matter of fact, the other one is way, way bigger. But in the spirit of everything is spin, this is exactly what's happening. And source spin is like the original spin that we all spin out of, that we all share, that springs from a single point that we all share. And on this single point, all the information lies. And on this single point is all of my protons. This single point is everywhere in my atomic structure. So this allness is everywhere. It's not just one point where there's a single point. It's all my points are pointing to the single point that we all share. Now that pretty much sounded like gobbledygook. But think about it. Think about it. So the larger aperture is my source self. This is me as not just me, but me as a larger field, and probably part of the we are humanity. We are all humanity, and humanity is a single organism. And so you in your own consciousness have both the ability to look at the picture from the point of view of you as a single and you as an all of humanity. We all have that capability. Almost nobody's using it because nobody's ever taught how to use their own consciousness, what it's capable of, what it's looking at, ultimately what the rules are of anything, what the energies are, how they work. Nobody's taught any of this. They're taught other things. They're taught ancient, this like little blips and snatches of old stories. Come at it from. I'm trying to describe in an abstract way everybody's different religious points of view, because everybody's religion is telling them what reality is, which is funny because religion and science split back in the 1600s. I don't know when they shook hands and decided to go separate ways. They quarreled with one another for a bit, with throwing Galileo into the Catholic Inquisitors' prison for, I think he died there. And then later they apologized. They might have even sainted him. But at one point, the church was the one who was saying what physical reality was. And then along come some people who were observing the physical universe. And were disagreeing with the church. They're like, no, it's not concentric, perfect spheres that everything is rotating on, emanating from the earth, going outward, 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 as above, so below, at the heavens, outside of the earth, the physical heavens are reflecting, these spiritual truths, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Galileo, observing the moons of Jupiter going around Jupiter, not Earth, says, you know what? It's not that. And so they agreed to disagree, and the church said, okay, we're going to talk about the spirit, and you go look at the physical world all you want. But there are still plenty of people out there who are making physical judgments about their physical world based on what their church is telling them, and their church is working on, at best, 19th century cosmologies, and some of them way back further, but it's not a clear version of the wisdom that was known in ancient times, rather a gobbledygooky version with some Jesus stuff thrown in and a lot of guilt and shame and a complete lack of understanding of what our physical apparatus, how it works, who we are. Let's talk about where we might have come from, too, because all the religions... So the idea is add all the religions up. Now, if you're deeply entrenched in your own, it's harder. If you're sitting in a position where you kind of got an open mind and you're really not stuck one way or another, but you really don't know what the meaning of anything is, it's easier to look and add stuff in, although you may not get a really clear view that way either because you never learned one of those religions from the inside, and so you don't really feel what they're even saying, so it's hard to add them in. So I belonged to a religion when I was growing up. I was baptized into a religion when I was 8 years old, a love religion, a good religion, actually. I can see lots and lots and lots of beautiful, incredible, loving value to it. But I would say that the only safe value to any religion is when you understand who you really are. And then you have a better understanding of... So when I was 14 years old, I believe I was 14 years old when I did this, I opened my mind. I took off the lens of my religion, and I allowed my mind to be open and free. From that moment on, it was just going to be, if it made sense to me, I would believe it, and if it didn't make sense to me, I wasn't going to believe it, and I wasn't going to be prejudiced this way or that way. I was going to go on how I felt and how it felt, and just let life unfold. I had a one I don't want to call it a primary assumption, but I guess I could. It was just the one thing I carried, the one thing that I put in there that I believed on faith. It wasn't always true in my specific experience, but I had been gently raised, so it was mostly true. So it was easy for me to put this one in at the top and believe this. It was the only one I took on faith, which was this. It's all right. Whatever it is, it's all right. It'll be fine. It's okay. We've been doing this forever. As a matter of fact, I remember watching a series on PBS. It was called The Making of a Continent. And as I sat there and absorbed that show, I got this deep sense of time, of how long we really had been at this. And so it had to be okay. You could see all of life moving through this, and all of life coming to where we are now. It has to be okay. And I don't know, I guess I couldn't really, I can't really defend that against somebody who really is determined to tell me that it's not okay. But that's what I went forward with. I don't know what it is, but it's okay. I don't know how that fits in, but someday I'll know. I see that, I see you, don't know what to do with you. It'll fit in, I don't know what to do with it. And so I would put information into this room in my consciousness. I called it the place where everything goes. I don't know what to do with you, but there you are. You know, I can't subtract you. Subtracting is like determinedly focusing away from there's a difference between addition and subtraction consciousness and focusing on the positive, focusing on what you like, as opposed to there's a difference between addition and subtraction consciousness and the concept of focus, because it is okay to learn to focus on the positive. That's different from subtracting from the whole picture, while at the same time you thinking that you are analyzing the wholeness of anything. So that's subtraction consciousness. That's the idea of looking at the whole picture and thinking that can't be in there for my picture to be whole and good. So we need to subtract that. So in my not focusing on it, I'm not only not focusing on it, I'm trying to subtract it. I'm trying to subtract you, homeless person, or Jew, or Muslim, or black person, or poor person, or Catholic, or whatever it is that you think the other is. I'm air quoting the word other in my mind right now. The other, whoever you've decided the other. Is it the Jap? Is it the Jerry? Is it the commie? Is it the pinko? Is it the otherizing the other? Is it the Republican? Is it the MAGA? Or however they do that, to how they otherize others. They are the otherizingest party ever. And it's hard not to point at them as being the root cause of issues and problems, and that mindset and that anger and that it's an energy event, people. Quit looking to logic and calm whatever to solve it from a direction that it's never going to solve it from. The law and order angle is never going to solve this problem. The law and order angle, trying to get Trump to go to justice, to get him to be thrown in jail, will only give his rabid, foaming at the mouth partisans free license to throw their political opponents in jail. Watch Biden get thrown into jail. Watch Hillary finally get locked up. This is not the way, people. This is not the way. Bringing all the culprits to justice is not going to lead us to the peace on earth, abundant future that we're all looking for. It's not going to do it. Now, I understand why. They think it's going to do it, but it's not. The law is not what's going to save us. The Spirit is going to save us. And I'm going to clarify that, because I know that there's a lot of religious people that from their direction they would agree. But they would then say it in their way. Yeah, Jesus is the one that's going, you have to believe, da 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 da. And they've got it all, from my perspective, I think they've got it a little bit backwards and a little bit misaligned. I wouldn't disagree with their basic spiritual premises about certain things. I'm going to argue with them about some physics details. And I have the math to back myself up about why I believe that we are structured in the way that we are structured. We have a source mind and we have a physical mind. And this source mind, which is, I'm now looking at the picture, the slide that I put up a while ago, didn't really describe it so much, but the source mind of you is pure vibration and pure positive energy, and it is your continuum. It is who you have always been. It is your continuum of projects and desire and intelligence and understanding and feeling. It's you having lived a jillion lives, having carved. You know that you prefer peace, love, connection, efficiency, freedom, joy, expansion, blah, blah, blah. That is who you are, actually, who you really are. And let's see. Some days I have such a good way of describing this. This is the source mind on the left. Think of it, this is your inner being that Abraham talks about. This is also the Holy Spirit that many religions talk about. The Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, that still small voice within you that tells you what is right, which direction to go. What it is telling you is a feeling that feels correct, that feels right. And what is it measuring against? It is measuring against a aspect of you that has true knowing, that knows how all the atoms have been moving, where they are right now, and how they have been moving forever. Their position, their direction, their temperature, their velocity, knows the continuum of all things, knows reality, knows how your blood is flowing, knows how the wind is blowing. How does it know this? Because I'm not just saying this as a religious, I'm not just standing on a pulpit banging it, getting, fervent about picturesque, colorful language. I'm saying that it knows because the universe is holographic. All of the information is being exchanged across the scales instantaneously, every Planck instant. The Plancks are exchanging their information with each other through this cosmic jiggle of space-time. As all the Plancks are touching each other and exchanging their information back and forth, all of the information is flowing across the universe. It's like from the single point, think of it this way, all of the individual points are uploading their information to the whole, and the whole at the same time is downloading its wholeness information down to the point. Every plonk, 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 plonk. And what is a plonk? What is a plonk? You take a photon going at the speed of light. A photon is a little packet of light going at the speed of light across its own diameter. That's the shortest wavelength of frequency that you can have in this density of universe. You have to go to a different density of universe, to the subplonk universe, to get anything smaller than that. And that one is so much smaller than that. It's like the distance is from the Planck to the subplonk is the same distance as from the Planck to the universe. And we already established how small a Planck is. It makes a proton look big. These scales and the mathematics is what's supporting all of this. The mathematics is what is going to be the roadmap that will lead us to the technology that will lead us out of the wilderness that we have been in. This artificial paradigm of scarcity that has been, it's not foisted. We weren't ready. We need to get ready. We need to know who we are as source energy so that we can get off of fossil fuels and start recreating the abundance. We live in an abundance creating machine. You know, it's like if human beings leave certain things alone, they just naturally get abundant. Now, why is that? What is it that human beings do? Well, I'll tell you what they do. They are not in alignment with who they really are. And that's where this picture really comes back, because we're talking about alignment. Think of these two pictures. Think of them both as each one of them. Now, I need to give you a better visual picture of this. Two tornadoes of spin, two little vortices of spin, but they are now tie them together at the bottom. One is the pure vortex of source, the vortex of creation, the vortex of knowing, the vortex of all that actually is, that's actually happening. It's that pinging in to the information of the allness. And remember, the reason that your inner being can know everything that it knows, and you can have faith with knowing that your inner being knows everything, because everything can be known, because all the information of everything is contained in the Planck field of every proton, of every atom, of every element of your atomic structure that your body is made of. And so your inner being is like that aspect of your cosmic anatomy that can read everything. But it's not, that gives you kind of the wrong feel. If you think about it that way, it sounds like it's just another one of your physical senses. And it absolutely is one of your physical senses, but it's not going to die with your physical body when your physical body dies, because it is actually the anchoring point of you. It is who you are. You are the Planck field along with everything else. You are not a separate object that you have to worry about yourself in the whole. You are the wholeness. You are the wholeness, and that's what awaits you, not some sort of screaming, painful, shameful torment of hell forevermore as the allness tortures you in your tininess for the sins that you committed on this, or where you didn't do what you should have done. That's not what it is. What awaits you as a soul is your understanding and recognition that you are the whole thing. You have a mirror aspect of your soul that can literally line up and then reflect back to you all the information of all the multiverse. You have it all within you. And not only So you are the allness, and that's really big, and that's really important, and yada yada yada. But the really important thing you need to do is figure out how to live a individual life. Live the life of a cell. How do you do that? How does the cell do what it needs to do and not get all gobsmacked by the realization that it is part of a larger body? You know? Us with our consciousness, we have a consciousness that can observe both levels at the same time. And let me tell you, the hours and hours that hours isn't the right word. The eons of I'm not sure what the right word for this is. The time that awaits us as we are surprised and delighted by the way that our physical mind can lay over our source mind if we get them into alignment correctly. You got to know source is leading the way. Don't let the other one lead the way. It doesn't know. It's just it's a secondary organ, and it thinks it's running the show. That's actually almost a direct quote from Joseph Campbell in his Power of Myth series. And he's pointing to his brain. It's a secondary organ, and it thinks it's running the show. That's the problem. Source is running the show. Line your physical mind up with source. Don't be so freaking human arrogant. Because wherever the humanness touches the ecosystem in ignorance, it kills it. We need to learn to recreate the abundance. We need to learn to recreate Eden. Re-garden Eden. We are gardeners. We are cosmic gardeners. We just need to know who we are. And we need to understand, well, we need to plug our civilization into a different source of energy. It is the source of energy that is killing the planet. Now, it is our ignorance of our own nature that is then caused. Because we were having problems before we hit the Industrial Revolution. So just getting a different source of energy. If you plugged, the pre-industrial, well, that wouldn't even mean anything because we didn't have any technology to plug into. But we did not have peace on earth and an understanding of who we are. And we were already creating pockets of destruction. Human beings are already the opposite of, they're lack creators. An abundance of lack creators instead of creators of abundance. The answer is alignment, people. We need to have our source leading the way. Source is the only one who's going to be capable of the kind of complexity required to organize 10 billion souls on planet Earth without turning planet Earth into a cinder on the one hand, or a slum, or a garbage heap, or a wasteland of any sort, which is human beings are entirely capable of doing. We absolutely do it. In our misalignment, we do it all the time. But the stakes are really big now. It's all of planet Earth. We've got to see ourselves differently. We've got to understand who we are. We've got to understand our vibrational physics, source energy nature, so that we can line up with it. So that then we can play nice with one another, with the biofield, with the human morphogenetic information field, with... I think we're going to find some really interesting things that are going to happen too. Because I believe that humanity is actually not alone in this universe. Way, way, way not alone. That the universe is alive. And once you understand yourself as source energy, you can start understanding how to move around the universe, even though from one angle it appears prohibitively, from the physical angle, it appears prohibitively large. So really the only people that really could visit is in our own solar system. Well, you know what? There's only just a few planets in our own solar system, and most of them don't really have much going on. So if you really want to get bigger than that, you got to get out there. So I think that the way to get out there is not the way we're doing it. We're not going to be piercing our atmosphere with phallic-shaped, fuel-burning rocketry that gets us to the near planets. That is not getting us to Alpha Centauri. We've got to understand what gravity is, what gravity really is. So I have a slide for that. It's one of my mathematical and physics slides. Is it this one? This one shows it with the oscillator mechanics. So each one of these Plancks is actually it's a vacuum fluctuation. It's a little oscillator of spin potential. And it's a little virtual particle that can kind of come in and out, go in and out of reality across the event horizon of the 0-point energy field. How about that for a sentence? I like that. I find myself saying that expression fairly often, so I think it's a thing. But look at this. So this is a little picture, it's a little diagram, and I think this came from the paper. I have slides that came from the video, which has a lot more pictures to it, but even the paper has some pictures, and this one is showing how, as a particle is coming into being across the event horizon of the 0-point energy field, it is spinning. Spin is baked into the cake. It is fundamental. Spin is part of the matter to begin with. And that fundamental spin is what's not being added in when you look at the matter in the universe. That's what the 96% of all of that black dark matter and dark energy is actually the spin that's not being added up to begin with. That's not being added in. It's baked into the cake. It's not a secondary effect. It is a fundamental force. It is a fundamental thing. And that's part of what Nassim's paper, the emergence of the I should write it down correctly so that the origin of mass and the nature of gravity. I really need to change that. I will work on that. My slide has E of M abstract title, and it's not E of M, it's O of M. And N of G. Anyway, this is going to plug us into a different energy source, people, and free us from gravity. And both of these things are going to be the change that, you saw how fast we changed in the 20th century. We went from like 100 years ago, my grandfather, and I'm not all that old. I'm only 63. My grandfather was born in 1870, and he died in 1959. I never met him. He never owned a car, and the wagons that he used for his farm were horse-driven. He never went to the 20th century. And that was just my grandfather. So what I'm saying is that everything changes really fast. And this change that I'm talking about is the change that we're looking for in the real 21st century technology. We right now are regurgitating some 20th century technology that we need to stop doing that. And some of it is actually should have been left in the 19th century. And we need to get on to the 21st and 22nd centuries, people. And what's going to happen, what's going to happen with that is we're going to plug into a different source of energy, and then we are going to conquer gravity. Our vehicles are coming up off the surface of the planet, the next iteration of vehicles, and they are not going to be plugged into energy charging stations like in the same way that our electric vehicles are now. That's not going to look like that. Or, I suppose if you had an electric vehicle, you could probably convert it to something so that you plug it into a device that is channeling source energy. That would work. Anyway, who are we? Who are we? Where did we come from? How are we designed? What is our configuration? And what is the meaning of our positive and negative emotions? Very important questions. So this is one of my regular slides. It's a very important diagram. It shows you the layer of brain that kind of makes us different. You know, it gives us an overview capability beyond just an ability to react and respond correctly to the environment around us. It gives us an overview mind. Now, you might think that that's a good thing, and it could be a good thing if your overview mind was in alignment with what Source knows to be true about the situation. If your overview mind was in alignment with Source, which is basically your overview mind, the one who really is holographically in touch with all of the protons, and the way it does it is through a black hole structure. It's all black holes, integers, fractal integer wholenesses being reflected across the scales. Anyway, you have this overview mind, which can disconnect you from an immediate knee-jerk reaction to the field around you. You'd think that'd be a good thing, but it's problematic, because if it starts leading the way, or if it starts, fixating on conditions, so the negative feelings that you feel are valid in an immediate response to the environment, something going on that you don't care for. You don't have to like things you don't like. That's fine. The problem is when you take a negative frequency and bring it into the overview room where you're evaluating the whole thing from this negative frequency. Because the whole thing is not on a negative frequency at all. It's on a positive one. And so if you're doing your overview mind work in a negative frequency, when your real overmind is doing it all in a positive frequency, you've got a mismatch there, a big time mismatch. Your overview mind should always be working in the positive. Your response to the environment, that can be whatever it is. And if it's negative, it's negative. You don't have to like things you don't like. You don't have to suck up things that you don't like. As a matter of fact, you are divinely invoked to go forth and choose the better. But don't evaluate that bit of direction as choose the better object. Just choose the better. Whatever's better. Peace is better than war. Love is better than hate. Choose love. Choose peace. Choose abundance. Choose joy. Choose fun. Choose playful. Choose trying hard to be good, but know what good is. And shame and guilt does not help you, and it does not serve the world. When you go into guilt and shame and then keep acting, you are basically acting out of alignment. You are wielding demonic and Shiva energy. In that moment, you are doing that. But then, when you realize what I've just told you, don't turn around and beat yourself up for that either, because that just compounds it worse and worse and worse. We're okay. We're okay. Oh, I remember I was going to explain something. See the 5 kleshas here? That identifying with an imaginary self? Well, the way I see it is instead it's overly identifying with your expirational self and not identifying hardly at all with your eternal, source-based, continuum, immortal knowing self. You are these two things. You are these two things. And the one aspect of you, I was calling it your cosmic vibrational anatomy. But it's not your cosmic vibrational anatomy to your physical self. It's like your physical self is part of your vibrational anatomy's physical self. You're more your eternal self than you are your expirational self. You are always your eternal self. That's why it's eternal. Your physical sides come and go. This other side, you can use it as an aspect of your physical sensory equipment, using it for your physical self to sense the world. But it is more you than you are. It brought you into this world. It is always you. You have nothing to fear ever, ever, ever about anything. Well, there are things to fear, just like, if you get on a roller coaster at the local amusement park. Yeah, there's plenty to fear. It's scary as hell going down those long drops and stuff. But it's not really scary because you're okay. You're not going to die. You're just going to, your stomach's going to go into your mouth and you're going to go, ah! It's going to be fun. It's sort of like, life is very much an analogy. I see it. I think this is how Gene Roddenberry was looking at it. He got his imagination got a whiff of this. And he wrote this story. The one, it's the Star Trek episode called Shore Leave. It's season 1, episode 16, I believe, if my memory serves. I've watched that episode quite a few times. They appear on they show up on a planet. They are tired. They've been on maneuvers or whatever. Anyway, they've been working hard. The crew needs rest. They find a planet appears to be not inhabited by anything but plants. That's what it looks like. And they come down to the planet, and as they start thinking about things, these things that they're thinking about start appearing. And it's interesting at first until Bones gets killed. And then his body gets taken away, and then later he appears, and actually he wasn't really hurt at all, and they fixed him up, and there's machinery down in this planet that is reading their thought patterns and making what they're thinking about to appear around them. And you can't really get hurt, because if you get hurt, they'll just take you down below and they'll fix you back up and you'll be fine. And so they decide that at first they think it's a scary place, and then they decide that this is the best damn place we have ever found for the greatest shore leave we've ever had. And that's the end of it. But that's kind of an analogy for life. We're taking it way more seriously than we should. There's nothing serious going on. We are in this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. We are way too attached to our physical bodies. Although, in a way, there's a good reason. Because I think in times past we might have been not quite enough attached. Not giving them the importance that they really do have. We live in a very blessed time. If you happen to lose the avatar that you're in right now, you would have to come up with another avatar, and it takes a while to develop it. You have to put up with a long period of time where you are sort of in the dark about things. You have your feelings about stuff, but you won't, it'll take you a little while in physicality to mature and put it together. And before anybody takes you seriously, because they're not going to take you seriously as a child. So hold on to your avatar, people. It is important to a point. It is your game piece on the board in a very interesting time that we're in. So don't get discouraged and like jump off a building. On the other hand, if you do, it's all right. God, do I sound terrible. I don't mean to be. I am loving and sweet, and I adore my world. I want to learn to focus in the direction of that which I want instead of focusing so much on that which we've got. I've actually spent 60 some years focusing pretty much on what we've got. And I've just I haven't spent all that much time focusing on less than that. But in the last 4 years, I've been learning to focus in the direction of what I want, while still being completely aware of what we've got. I get it. What you've got is the springboard. This world of the paradigm that we've got is the springboard to that world of where we're plugged into source energy and we have conquered gravity. And we no longer have to put wires and plugs and the kind of it's going to make housing so much cheaper. You don't have to put wires of the power into your walls that connect to systems outside of you, that connect to transfer stations, but it's not transfer stations, generating stations and there's another electrical word for those kinds of stations, the sub-hubs, connecting you to the whatever. You don't have to have any of that. And so all the people who have made it their living to do that, they're going to have to find something else to do. But the good news is there's going to be plenty of interesting things to do. Actually, I would love to see George alive right in this moment. Oh my God. Would I love to have an electrician willing to willing to plug into source energy, or who is capable of understanding what the heck that even means. I would have loved to have tried to engage his electrical know-how into building an over-unity device. What's an over-unity device? It's a device that puts out more energy than it takes to run it. What? You say? That's not possible. Yes, it effing is. Because there is no such thing as a closed system. And so your device putting out more energy than it takes to run it is not an example of you creating energy out of nothing. You're not creating energy out of nothing. There is nowhere where there is nothing, and there is nowhere where there is no energy. That is something that they have lied to us about. And in the name of national security, they have snatched these devices away right and left from people who sought to build their fortunes on one. They built it, and then they go to the patent office. They want a patent, and they think the patent office is going to give them this patent, and then they can develop this thing, and then they can build their billion-dollar empire on this energy device. And it's never going to happen because they keep snatching these devices right and left. And the truth is that if any of them were allowed to be out there, then everyone would understand that they are possible. And now you would have multiple places where people are building devices like that and using devices like that and building energy. And nobody would probably they wouldn't control the world the way that the fossil fuel does. They would just be one of many sources of incremental getting us off fossil fuel. They have been lying to us, people. You can have an over-unity device. It is possible. It is possible. And that would incrementally get us off fossil fuels while we work on the source energy one. Collectively, if we want a big collective project, it doesn't have to be cold fusion. Let's have it be source energy. Source energy, vacuum fluctuations, the quantum field. How does the quantum field morph into any shape? How does it do it? How can we help that along? Who are we as Planck field? Who are we as consciousness? Who are we as a collective being? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? This is another one of my slides. I really like this one. Although it could be, I could think about this at other times when I'm not doing my show, and I really could make a better slide. But this basically represents to you your brakes and your accelerator. The specific, anytime you go specific, it's the accelerator. Ooh, I can see how to change this. And anytime you want to slow down, go general. Oh, I can see. Oh, I should sit here and ponder this one, because I could think of all kinds of other ways to picture how this illustrates. So when you're say you're in your physical body and you're dressing your physical life, and you're in a positive moment, go specific. Get specific. You're in a positive place. Just get as specific as you can from that position. If you're in a negative place, go general. Because you don't, well, the more specific you get in either direction, the faster your physical life is going. And you don't want it to go fast if you're negative, because that's a negative momentum. You're getting more and more negative. You're getting farther. You're only ever there's only ever two directions. There's forward and backward. There's the direction that you want to go, or in the opposite direction of where you want to go. There's only those two directions. It's a toggle switch. If you're in a positive state of mind, you're facing forward. Go. Get specific. As you get specific, you're going faster and faster. If you find yourself in a negative position, stand still. Go general. You got to go general, because you got to quit acting. You got to quit thinking. You got to withdraw your consciousness and your modus of action, your modus of operandi. You've got to disconnect it until you can get yourself turned back in a forward direction. Who could be texting me? Ooh, hold on. I'm going to make a pause. Pause. Later today, I was scheduled to have a guest for a special edition of Who Am I? But she has to babysit, and so maybe tomorrow's show, after tomorrow's show, there might be a special edition that I'll drop. Sorry, I just did something with my computer that made me startle. All right, where are we? So, I showed this diagram, this one showing the overview neocortex mind. And the reason that I do that is because this neocortex, this is really interesting. This neocortex, a large part of the volume of this comes from a very fishy source. Comes from human chromosome number 2, which looks to be, it looks to me like, now, this article doesn't use the GMO word, it doesn't say anything like that. It does not make any pronouncements about how this fusion happened. Back when this article was written in 1991, we wouldn't have had any sense of how that would have worked anyway, But it looks like human chromosome number 2 is a fusion of 2 lower order chromosomes. Look at this. We conclude that is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. And I believe that this is evidence that we have been genetically modified. And if we were genetically modified, this would have happened when anatomically modern humans appeared on planet Earth some 200,000 years ago, give or take a few centuries. Or millennia, give or take a few millennia. The implication is vast. You start understanding where all the religions are getting their traditions from. You know, why we keep talking about human beings are created. Human beings are created. God created human beings. And then we twist that into weird things. There's God the Almighty, the oneness, the wholeness, the Planck field, the holographic multiverse. There's that, which is alive and conscious, and you are a part of, a living, breathing part of, capable of lining up with its purposes and serving its purposes. You absolutely are that. You're also a species that was helped along by, it would have to have been extraterrestrials. And that gives a lot more credence to the idea of, intergalactic civilizations and human beings being a part of a bigger neighborhood than we have been even hearing a lot more about UFOs. Bashar says that it's not going to be very long. I can't remember what year he said, 27 maybe? It's not going to be very long before there's going to be a major worldwide contact event. And at that time, we're all going to go, oh, yeah, okay, that's what's been going on. Excuse me. Maybe it comes at the point when we finally get to where we can be trusted with source energy. We can understand who we are and what this is. It's not ordinary. This life that we take so for granted, that we take so for, it's ordinariness we take for granted. It's not ordinary at all. This neocortex, which a large part of the volume comes from human chromosome number 2, is responsible for your emotions. Did you know that? It is how well your overview mind is lining up with the overview mind of your source. That is what is giving you your positive or negative emotions. It doesn't have anything to do with... it's not an indictment upon that which you look at, your negative emotions. When you go negative... Now, I don't want to say it that way. I don't go negative very often anymore. But even when I'm not being negative, I can tell I can still see what I prefer in a backdrop against what I don't prefer. I can still see it. Even though I am looking at what I want, I can still see what I don't want. It's just I'm seeing what I don't want in my peripheral vision. I'm seeing what I do want in the center of my focus. Back to this picture, right? The center, you've got to line your focuses up. I should have a picture that shows these two lining themselves up and what it looks like when they're not in alignment, as they, sort of like a car who's got twin carburetors that are not lined up with one another. It's not smooth. It's not clear. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for clarity. We're looking for a clear signal from our source telling us how to behave because we don't know how to act. We don't know how to be. We don't know how to find ourselves. Without a user's manual, a directions manual, we don't know how to organize ourselves. And different people try under orders of law, but the problem with a law, with a set of laws, a structure built on laws, is now you have to have enforcers that enforce people to do things that what you really need to do is set up a natural system that is self-enforcing and reinforcing. It's sort of like if you have simple rules that you put in place, and then the bigger things execute themselves. I'm having a hard time with some specific words. I'm having a hard time finding them. For instance, like if you make it a rule where you have a factory and you want to pull water from the local river, and then you're going to have, when you're done with that water, you're going to put it back in the river. If the rule says that you have to put the water in above where you pull it out, that's a really simple rule that everything else self-enforces after that. Because you aren't going to want to pull poison water from the stream. So it's going to be in your best interest to clean that water up before you put it back in the stream, especially if you're running something like a water bottling plant or some such. I had a friend who told me that one. So I'm getting lost here. I'm getting lost. I don't know exactly where I'm headed with this, except for I do know that we need to get off of fossil fuels and we need to get onto source energy. And I'm telling you, we can. We can. It is not what they have been telling us. Most people conventionally educated in our university system come up with this idea that we can't, but we can. So where do I want to go from here? Well, I started with the emotional guidance scale. I think I will come back here for just a second. I am an hour and 41 and a half minutes into the show, so at any time, if I feel like I have found closure, I can end. But I do have a little bit of time to add a few more tidbits in. My show, in a way, is always the same. I've traced the same circle of information having to do with our possible genetic modification, which implies things about our connection to the rest of the universe, by the way. The fact, all of this feeds into the idea of what our emotional guidance system is, also, how it works. Our emotional guidance system is our overview mind. How well is our, that's not the right one. How well is our neocortex overview mind blending with our source overview mind? If it's not blending well, then you're feeling negative emotion. And it's what makes that negative emotion feel uncomfortable to you is that it's a difference in frequency than what your source overview mind thinks about it. And you'd be better off taking your source's view because your source wants to preserve your avatar too. Your source doesn't want you to die. Not until it's time. But your source also knows that when you die, there's nothing at all tragic happened. It's happened a jillion times. You knew it. We all knew it. It's not a problem. You're still you're still dancing with the whole thing. It is not. Death is safe. Death is safe. But it's also not preferred. Life is what the project is. Project life. So we focus on life. Death is not our favorite part of it, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all okay. We are okay. Life is okay. So your emotional guidance scale this is telling you how well you are doing vibrationally. If you're up in the happier emotions, if you're anywhere from contentment on up, contentment is fine. If that's the highest thing you can achieve, stay there. If frustration is the highest thing, if boredom is the highest you can get. Now, in boredom is in a place, but boredom is in a funny place. I'm going to show you where boredom is. I have another one here. Boredom is right, let's see. Look at that place right in the middle where almost nothing is happening either way. That's where boredom is. No energy is moving there. That's why it's boring. There's nothing dramatic happening. There's nothing positive happening. You're just kind of sitting in a place where it's like, Some people would prefer a higher momentum even if it's in a negative direction. They want that. They want to feel the motion of life moving even if it's not all that pleasant. And they're not wrong, because actually the motion is going to show you how it moves. So you got to kind of keep it moving. Forget what I just said. I know what I was thinking, but I can also hear where that could be heard wrong. I like this picture because of the way that it shows the momentum of the different emotions. And you're actually looking for a momentum of positive emotion. The way you get that going is you have to slow down the negative one. Get that one to be quiet. And then the other one will naturally carry it away. The one we're making quiet is the right one. That's the one you're in charge of. That's you and your physical mind. That's the one where you get to choose what you're thinking about, how you're feeling. That's you choosing. You can either find a way to get into alignment with your real self, or you can keep doing whatever it is you're doing. But it's helpful to understand your configuration. It just is. It's very helpful to understand it. You cannot keep taking small, mean, petty thoughts and not feel negative emotion about them. You will feel that negative emotion because your greater self does not think mean, petty, negative thoughts. It knows the value of all things. It knows who you are. It knows what you're doing. It knows how to guide you to what you want. It is you. It's not somebody else. This inner being source aspect of you, it's you. It really is. It is your true self, your higher self. So where am I in the narrative? If you're a fan of the show, and you're a rare breed if you are a fan of the show. I may have one fan, but they missed one of my shows. They missed I think it's from July the 2nd. Wednesday I played golf, didn't make one. That was the 3rd. The 4th I did make one. The 5th I did irrigation. I couldn't do one. So here I am on the 6th. I think I have a fan. If you are a fan, you recognize this slide. These are cymatic patterns. And what they are is they're made by a cymatic device of some sort, which is it's a electronic device. You pipe some sort of a frequency through it. That's easy enough. And it produces, every time you put a different frequency, it produces a different pattern showing it's a reflection of that frequency. Excuse me. It's a digital device of some sort doing this. Now, old school, cymatics was originally studied by a man named Hans Jenny, who invented the field of study. He used a flat metal plate and he'd sprinkle a granular medium on top of it and then pipe the frequency through the metal plate. And as the little sand or salt or whatever danced on the surface, it would dance itself into coherent patterns. Increase the frequency, change the frequency and the pattern changes, increase the frequency and the pattern gets more complex. Upper right and lower left, that's what those pictures are. You can see the metal plate with the granular medium danced itself into patterns. That's what that is. Upper left and lower right, those are cymatic patterns in nature, demonstrating to you, and this is why I put it into my program, demonstrating that we are in a vibrational universe. And the vibration of things really is the precursor to the things manifesting. And it is your inner being, your feelings is what puts you in touch with the moving, rolling, true physical manifestation out there. Your feelings are not nonsense, in spite of what Mr. Spock has taught you. Your feelings are not nonsense at all. They are not illogical. You just have to understand the difference between your positive and your negative ones. Your negative ones mean that you are facing backwards. Your positive ones means that you are facing forwards. Take that as you will. So now look at this. A snowflake is actually a cymatic pattern. What's happening is in the atmosphere is that ice crystal is forming, that little snowflake. It's forming on a frequency, and the frequencies out there, they're all different frequencies. That are swirling around. And that's how come the snowflakes are all different, because each one of them is forming on a different frequency. So interesting. Love this world. It is so cool. It is so amazing. It is so built to give us what we want. We just have got to learn to focus in the direction of what we want and quit focusing in the direction of what we don't want. Understand the power of our focus. Put what you want in the center of your focus and keep what you don't want in your peripheral vision. Yeah, I see you, but I ain't focusing on you. So I see the problems of the world, and I have my little litany of them. 6 mass extinction, persistent wars, human suffering, children starving, growing deserts, garbage island, all of that. Global warming. All of those things. Growing scarcity. All of those things. But that's not what you focus on in order to fix them. That's the problems we're dealing with. Also, things like, I hate inefficiency in the systems around us. Don't you just hate to pull up to a traffic light and there's nobody in any direction and it still makes you wait 2 minutes because it's on some kind of a program instead of being responsive to what's going on in the field in this moment? Doesn't that irritate you? We could fix that. But you got to focus on the solution. You can't focus on the problem. Actually, we're going to fix everything. And it's going to be way different. We're not even going to really need traffic laws and stuff because transportation on the ground is going to get a lot slower. Most of our transportation is going to come up off the surface of the planet, and we're going to have it's going to have to be designed with devices that your cars already have them. We have a car that if you don't brake and somebody starts braking in front of you quickly, the car brakes for you. Brakes for you so that you don't run into it. We'll have our flying devices will have sensing equipment that will not allow us to run into each other in the air. And then you can just zip around, go wherever you want. You don't have to stop at lights and wait to go on the road. We don't have to slather the the surface of the planet in concrete and asphalt anymore. We do not need to cloud the skyline with wires. We do not have to connect ourselves with wires. We are already connected in way more connected, way more profound ways than we could ever need to enhance. Just amazing. So I think the way to solve the problems of humanity is focus on the solutions and focus on the direction that the solutions are going to come. The direction is that we are part of a holographic universe, and our human biofield morphogenetic we already know. Oh, dear. I need to wrap this up. I've pretty much said it. I'm excited about our future. We have nothing but wonderful in front of us. We just got to learn how to focus. We got to learn who we are. We got to know how many things we have going in our favor. The nature and structure of the universe is absolutely in our favor. The nature and structure of source energy is absolutely in our favor. Everything is a green light pointing to a really great future. We've just got to focus there. We've got to understand who we are and what we've got going for us. I didn't really do many of my math slides. I could do a special math program, a math-based, let's talk about the Planck field and let's not talk at all about emotions. I could do that, and maybe I will. I was going to do a special edition later with my daughter. Maybe I will do a special edition later this morning with just the mathematics. We will talk about the Planck field. We will talk about the unified universe. We'll talk about the black hole structure. So join me for that. If you notice another episode pop up later, that's what it's going to be. This one, I'm just going to leave it the way it is because I think I said it. I think we're genetically modified. I think we're a part of the almighty universal machine that is the wholeness, the allness. I think that I also think that the living of a individual life is actually the key. What is wrong with your nose, chameleon? Something has corrupted some of the pixels on your picture. Anyway, I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. I'm going to try to do it again. I'm working on myself. I also want to be a spokesperson for this new movement, for this new understanding of who we are and where we're really going, so that we cannot stay trapped in this paradigm that we've got right now. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. It's an opportunity for all of us moving forward. We don't have to see it as a negative. Anyway, I hope to see you again tomorrow. I love you. I really do love you. There is no us and them. There's only us. There's only us. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible and all that. I love you. I wish you well. Your success is my success. My success is your success. Of course I wish you well. I wish you well. I bid you peace. And most of all, get aligned with your source. Get aligned with your source. May your source be with you every minute of every day. She is, you know. You go be with her. May you be with source. Amen.